Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast. It is Monday evening, well, nearly evening, and it is the eve of the Punchestown Festival. We've got 5 fantastic days coming up. We're going to preview 4 of them. The amount of Grade 1s on offer meant that we've chosen the first 10 effectively. We've also got some handicap shouts for you as well. So previewing all the feature action with Donn McClean, with Sam Turner, and with Micheál Deasy. The pod's in good form, to be fair. We had a good Saturday. Sam found the winner of the 365 Gold Cup, didn't you, Sam? What a job!
No, Tom, I found the third in the probably the third best horse as well.
I felt bad even claiming it, but hey, it wins a win, and Dees would have been throwing things at the screen given that Enrillo was his best bet. So there you go.
I had to jump into the car and go straight after the race, and I didn't know if the race was after being awarded or not, so I was just ringing people for the next 20 minutes. Is any result yet? Any result yet?
There were some timid members of the press room, I think, when Paul Nicholls was asking, what do you think? And a few were going, oh, I think you've got a chance. I was just going, no, I don't think so.
I've got to be honest, when it sort of went, a reasonable price in the betting afterwards, I thought Enrillo was a really good bet to keep it. I've got to be honest, because I couldn't see them, if Kitty's Light had actually finished second, obviously it was pretty much a no-brainer, but the way that it finished, I was surprised. But I suppose to the letter of the law, they've made the right decision. But no doubt the best horse didn't win the race or didn't get the race.
I think initially in the betting after the race, I think Potteron was favourite. But then as the inquiry went on, I think Enrillo was actually favourite when the result was called.
The longer it goes on, they always say the least likely to have to change it. Anyway, they changed it. Sam bagged his 13.0. Everyone was happy, except for connections of 2 horses. Let's move on to Punchestown. I'll give you the offer first of all. I've got big shoes to fill with the offer announcement of those of Micheál Deasy, but here you go. This is for new customers only, and it is 0% commission on all sports for 30 days. That is for new customers only. 0% commission on all sports for 30 days. You've got to use the bonus code INSIGHTS, and it means that you're going to be guaranteed to get best odds. You will anyway with Matchbook Betting Exchange, but with no commission, you will certainly be getting best odds. That is 18 plus. A big gamble away. Use the bonus code INSIGHTS. How'd it do, Dees? All right?
10 out of 10, Tom. 10 out of 10.
He didn't really think that, did he? He's going to have words afterwards. Before we get stuck into the betting, there's just a few things, Donn, which you can comment on if you can. Tie them in together. One, no Micheál Indo, which is a great shame. He's got a bruised foot. Peter said, thank you, Peter. Indo is out. And also the fact that we've got 4 between the 2 jockeys, and there's a few head-to-heads, Rachel Blackmore and Paul Townend, who is back to full fitness, ? Take it away, Donn.
Well, look, Micheál Indo, it's just such a shame. The Cheltenham Gold Cup, Punchestown Gold Cup double is doable. We know that from history, and yeah, it would have been great to see him there. But yeah, unfortunately, he's out, and hopefully we don't have too many more high-profile withdrawals between now and well, it starts tomorrow, but during the course of the week. So it's a shame, but look, he's got a bruised foot, so nothing can be done. And yeah, the Jockeys Championship, it's fascinating. We've got 95 Paul Townend, 91 Rachel Blackmore. It looked like she wasn't getting close to bridging the gap all last week. She kind of had 1 and 2 winners, but then she had a treble at Kilbeggan on Friday night that took her to within 4. So that gave her a massive chance. And then we were all waiting to know if Paul Townend was going to be declared on Tuesday's runners, and he is. So yeah, look, you have to think Paul Townend is favourite, given he is his favourite. He's a long odds-on favourite, given the strength of the Willie Mullins team. But as you say, Tom, there are clashes in there, like I know, and we'll come on to it now, the Monkfish and Violin clash. That's a clash in its own right between horses, but the fact that Paul Townend's on Monkfish and Rachel Blackmore's and Violin, that just adds extra spice to it. And there's also the Amateur Riders Championship as well, because Patrick Mullins and Jamie Codd, they're on 45 winners each, which is interesting because if you look at the National Hunt table, you'll see that there's 2 in it. But Patrick Mullins had 3 winners on the flat and qualified riders races. Jamie Codd had 1, so that bridges it to 2. So they've got 45 winners each with 5 days to go. So that should be a fantastic competition between those 2 as well during the week.
That's it, isn't it? That's the real Jockeys Championship battle. That's the one that's really going to be close. Right, let's kick on to the previews then. So we've got 3 Grade 1s on day 1 of the Punchestown Festival. First of them comes up at 4:15. It is the Champion Novice Hurdle. As far as the betting goes, and the jockeys are interesting here as well, 1.91 for Echoes in Rain, Blue Lord 2.38, Utrecht at 26.0, and then we're into the bigger prices of the final pair, Dew Cup and Colonel Mustard. Split at the top, really. So, Sam, I'll come to you first. You like the horse right at the top of the betting. Do you make her a bet at that price?
Yeah, I think I do. It's a very unoriginal selection, unfortunately, but Echoes in Rain, I think she's a filly really going places, or a mare going places. I do think, I mean, you wouldn't sort of mention her just yet in the same breath as your Annie Powers of this world, but I do think she's an exceptional talent. Obviously, flatbred, authorised. You hope that they put a fair bit of water on, because she does operate very well with some dig in the ground. I can't imagine that they won't, with the forecast, etc., have watered quite thoroughly and heavily, in the run up to this meeting to ensure very safe ground. But I think she's got tremendous ability. She's very good right-handed. The Belfast Banter run from 2 starts ago, well, that hasn't worked out too shabbily, has it? And she was just awesome, I thought, at Fairy House in Grade 2 company last time. I just wonder whether this track will play a little bit more to her strengths than perhaps Blue Lord, although he has won here. But I just feel she's just got a bit more latent toe, a little bit more tactical speed. And if this does turn into a bit of a tactical battle, I think she'll take all the beating. Just the figures that she clocked last time were just astonishing. So I've got to go with her. They've obviously kept her and Appreciate It apart, which I think is a wise move for Appreciate It, because I think she's a bit special.
Yeah, interesting enough that, and Appreciate It may go over a little bit further, which makes sense, I think. I'm with you, Sam. I've got very little to add. It wouldn't be a big bet at all, but I just wonder if I don't know. I just wonder with Paul Townend and Blue Lord if that might shorten up a touch, and you might be able to nudge towards 2.0. That would really tempt me in. I'll probably end up just supporting her or putting her in some multiples or something. But I think she's good value for that. And the other factor about Blue Lord is just where is he confidence-wise? Because it was a bit of a cruncher last time, so that's a little bit of a niggle as well. But Deasy, you're quite positive about Blue Lord?
I do. I think if you look back over the last few years, like the supreme form going into this is a key factor, and I think that like he was it might have been a bit of a tired fall last time, but I think he's high enough class horse, and I think that at the price he is, it seems to be between the two of them. I'd always take the bigger price, so I'm quite happy to stick with Blue Lord in this.
Fair enough. Blue Lord for you. Don, was Utrecht one of your horses to follow? Seriously?
No.
Am I making that?
No. How do we want?
Hang on. Manila Indo wasn't. He won a Gold Cup. So
let's talk about Manila Indo again.
Exactly. Oh, and Grenadine was one of mine, and he won a
yeah.
What? Go on, Don. So where are you?
I thought of you, and Grenadine was winning. Actually, yeah, that was a good one. No, Utrecht, he was. Yeah, like he just obviously Joseph O'Brien hasn't had a clear run with him. He's only run once. And he was weak in the market that day before a race at Punchestown in February, and he ran okay behind the Devil's Coach run. But yeah, it's a big ass to see him getting close to Echoes in Rain and Blue Lord. Yeah, I agree with Sam and Tom on this. Actually, I think Echoes in Rain, like actually on ratings, she gets her £7 mare's allowance, and she's rated £7 inferior to Blue Lord. So on ratings, there's nothing between them. But I just think she's getting better, isn't she, as she's learning to settle better. Like she is quite a free going mare, but last time at Fairy House she settled really well, or better than she had been. If she can settle again, she's only 5. She's an improving mare. I subscribe to Sam's notion that she could progress to be very, very good indeed. And yeah, like Blue Lord at the start of the season when he won that maiden hurdle at Punchestown, he kind of he was a bit green that day. It took him a little while to get there and beat Julie Stowaway, and then next time over 2.5 miles behind Bob Ollinger, he raced freely, but I still thought he was a 2.5 mile, and I thought Willie Mullins thought he was a 2.5 mile horse as well. But his 2 runs since have been over 2. He's back over 2 now, and he did have the option to go over 2.5 later in the week. So it's interesting that he's been kept to 2. I suppose he does race so keenly, but I was thinking maybe a hood and very patient tactics might work over 2.5. But look, he's in over 2. He's a highly talented horse. He would have finished second in the Supreme Novices hurdle if he hadn't fallen at the last. So look, he probably sets the standard, but no, I think Echoes in Rain she's a progressive mare, and she could progress even more when she settles even better.
Cue a lot of gloating from Deasy on the WhatsApp chat if Blue Lord goes and wins. Fair enough.
See it coming, can't you?
We're going to give out to Donn if Utrecht wins, that's for sure. Right, let's.
About to myself.
Yeah, quite right. Let's kick on to the 525. This is just a filthy good race. It's the Champion Chase. They bet as Matchbook have it at 2.25 for Shaq and then 2.88 for Allaho. So Shaq and Poursoir edging it. Nuba Negra is 6.5. First flow 17.0. Then into the bigger prices. I'll kick off here with he'd certainly be my best bet of the day. I'm back in the Shaq and Poursoir is an absolute monster camp. I can absolutely. I mean, the form from last time from Put the Kettle On side doesn't look all that good, but we know what Grenadine came out and did. But moreover, I can forgive Shacken at Cheltenham. I really can. The way he goes through the race, I was always worried as to whether that hill was going to suit him. But back at Punchestown, I'm really looking forward to him tracking Allaho throughout the race, because I would imagine Rachel will try and do the same thing and just picking his pocket, picking up late on. And I'm really happy that you're getting odds against about this horse, Shaq and Poursoir. And first flow, I don't think the ground's going to be right for him. Nuba Negra, bless him, I really don't think he's good enough. I would love it for the Skeltons if I'm proved wrong, but I'm a massive fan of Shaq and Poursoir, and I think he could win this quite comfortably. So he would be a pretty warm bet for me. Sam.
Yeah, it's not a race I've got a huge opinion on, and I'm trying to keep it that way because I just want to watch it and enjoy it and not have a bet or not have a strong selection. I've gone with Allaho just because I thought that was such a sparkling performance in the Ryanair, and obviously Fakir Dudari has not done the form any harm. There's a little bit of a worry for me that it was only 6 weeks ago, and that may well have left a mark because he was pretty all guns blazing that day. And I think your point about Shaq and Poursoir just sort of slipping a target onto the back of Allaho and tracking him through could play out here, especially if first flow bustles up Allaho. You'd have thought they've got to be aggressive again with Allaho. And he's going to need a fairly sizable margin of lead, I think, coming down to the second last and still to be travelling in a good rhythm to probably resist the likes of Nuba Negra, who I'm not quite so dismissive of as you are, perhaps, and Shaq and Poursoir. I think it's a race for the ages, as they like to say. I think it's a tremendous race. Great that they're all lining up, and great that Dan Skelton's taken Nuba Negra over there for a bit of sport as well, because I do think he's got a live chance of perhaps things dropping right for him. But I'll sit on the fence a little bit and just a token selection with Allaho for me.
Fair enough. Deasy, I know you think Nuba Negra is good enough.
I do, and it's kind of driven by the price as well. I was watching back the Championship at Cheltenham before this, and I thought that Nuba Negra obviously flew home, but I thought Shaq and Poursoir was beaten. I mean, by two horses that were just better than him on the day, and he was found out big time. And he said if he's had 4 runs this season. Now he's had a busy season. Maybe he's a bit over the top. And I think that Nuba Negra had he won his race at Christmas. He ran very well at Cheltenham. I think that they might have had this in mind all the way through. As you said, no, he's 5.0. He's doubled the price of Shaq and Poursoir after finishing ahead of him at Cheltenham. So I think definitely a small win bet, but I wouldn't be going too heavy in this now. I'm not bullish about it, but I think he's well worth a small win bet at 5.0 or 6.0.
That's Nuba Negra. Fair enough. Donn, nothing bullish for you here?
No, it is fascinating though, isn't it? Like Allaho, he was a 3-mile novices hurdler. He beat Minella Indo in a 3-mile novices hurdle at Clonmel. He went on to Cheltenham, ran in the Albert Bartlett, ran in the RSA Chase last year, and now suddenly he's dropping back down to 2 miles. I'd share your concern, Sam, about the race that he had at Cheltenham. Like, it was a lung buster, wasn't it? And you can't put up a performance. Like, it was a phenomenal performance, but you can't put up that type of performance without taking a lot out of you. Now we know that from Cheltenham to Punchestown it's 6 weeks, so it's a good break. It's not like Cheltenham to Aintree, or to Ferryhouse, so that he's got that in his favour. But I just think it's fascinating back over 2 miles. Going to, like, the way that he jumped at Cheltenham. If he jumps again like that at Punchestown, he's going to take all the beating. Shaq and Poursoir, I think Punchestown will suit him better. It was at Punchestown where he came of age, where he first came to note, really, when Robbie Power rode him. Like Micheál, I watched the Championship. I keep on watching it, and all the way through the race, he's just travelled so well. He got a lovely run up the rail, put the kettle on, came off the rail. He got up the inside. He jumped the last in front. and go on and win your race. And just the hill, you know, maybe he's one of those horses who just does it all on the bridle, and when you go for him up a hill, he just didn't have as much left as it looked like he had. But you have to forgive him that, and I think Punchestown will probably suit him better.
Donn, there's a hill at Leopardstown, there's a hill at Punchestown, isn't there? There's a bit of a rise at Punchestown.
At Punchestown. Yeah, they go downhill at Punchestown. There's a hill at Leopardstown, yeah, for sure. And I think that has been the most unimpressive part of his races, hasn't it? At Leopardstown up the hill. And when I remember Absolute Tower beat him last year. Now I know he was short of a piece of work that, yeah, like it was just disappointing, wasn't it, at Cheltenham, that he was so weak coming up the hill. So what's it down to? The only thing you can put it down to is the hill, because he'd never been to Cheltenham before. Look, it's good the first flow in Nube Negra coming over. I think the Grand might be too quick for first flow in Nube Negra. Interesting that Dan Skelton eschewed the champion or the celebration chase at Sandown to come here. So it's great that they're coming over. Really, like there were plenty of British winners at the festival 2 years ago, and it was last run. So it's great that they're pretty well represented this year. I think Silas Emery might outrun his odds. He was disappointing at Cheltenham. He didn't jump well, but he's never really run well at Cheltenham. He won his Novices hurdle at Punchestown, and I think he'll run better than a big price suggests. So it's pity there aren't 8 runners in it, because it's not an each way race, obviously, with 7 runners. So, but I'll be watching Silas Emery. I think he might just run better than his odds suggest he will.
I just had a question there, Sam. You're a sectional time man, and I've done the times and Shaka now for his 2 runs at Leopardstown this year, and the way I saw him winning his races in the back straight, that he just kills him in the back straight and just gets home. Then does that stack up with what you've?
Yeah, pretty much. The closing sectionals probably aren't as explosive as you think they are. It's just he travels deep into a race. He's got 1 run, and then he just maintains that gallop, I suppose. So, yeah. Whereas 1 or 2 of these, maybe Nube Negra might just have that little bit of injection of pace. He's just got that cruising speed, I think, and then just lengthens. So I think that's a fair assumption.
Okay. Good to know.
Does anybody have anything to add to this fine race? Because I think I'm happy. Good. Let's kick on to. Oh my God, Tuesday's so good. I'm going to be at Nottingham. Delighted. No, I am delighted. Of course, that's great. But Tuesday's so. In fact, I might be back in time for this one. 6:30 is the Champion Novice Chase, and betting is as follows. Bear with me. Well, Monkfish is the horse that heads the betting. He's 2.1. Envoy Allen, as everyone seems to be commonly saying it now. None of the M-boy stuff. 2.38. Coolreevy is 9.0. Frankenport is 41.0. Donn McClean, kick us off.
How long do you have?
Well, I'm fascinated. You're not looking at the top 2 in the betting. It's great.
Yeah, it's look. This is brilliant, isn't it? Like I was thinking, you can't wait until next year's Gold Cup to see Monkfish and Envoy Allen taking each other on. Now we have it at Punchestown before the season's even over. So look, it's brilliant. Envoy Allen stepping up to 3 miles. Monkfish, you talk about sections, Micheál, on the Champion Chase. You might correct me on this, Sam, but the time that Monkfish clocked from the first fence on the main track around to the winning line, so a circuit and a bit, was faster than the time that the Champion Chase horses clocked from the same fence, which would be the 3rd fence on the Champion Chase course. You know, they come up the chute in the 2 mile and they jump the first, which is the second last on the first circuit. So it wasn't, I mean, I did some hand timings on that. You probably have about more accurate figures, but that's what I clocked. That. So what Monkfish did, even though he didn't look that impressive, and he was hampered by the loose horse at Laddereer at the final fence, his time was fantastic. So look, he's a monster, and he's unbeaten over fences, and he's just, he's an unbelievable horse. But so is Envoy Allen, and it was a shame that he fell. We don't know how he would have fared at Cheltenham, but he'd done everything else so easily before that, over hurdles and over fences. So it's just, but I think the value of the race is Coolreevy. I think she's been underrated because we've all caught up with the top 2, and rightly so. It's the matchup of the week, isn't it? It's one of the matchups of the season probably. But Coolreevy, I think she's a talented mare. What she did at Cheltenham was very good. She battled on well to beat any mare. She hasn't been beaten over fences. She's a course winner. She won the Grade 1 hurdle, bumper here a couple of years ago. And she's stepping up to 3 miles. She's bred for that. She's a half sister to Spider Webb, who won a Munster National. And even on ratings, like she's rated £5 inferior to Monkfish and £6 inferior to Envoy and she gets the £7 mare's allowance. So on rating, she should be a way shorter price than she is. Look, I just think she's the value. She's whatever. She was 9 or 10 to 1. She's a bit shorter now, but I think she should be even closer to the top 2 in the market than she is.
Sam?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. She's 3 from 3 at Punchestown. She hammered Mount Ida, didn't she, a couple of starts ago? We saw what that horse managed to do at Cheltenham. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with Don. I think it's an interesting take on the race, to be honest. I think Monkfish is probably favourite because he'll jump out. I would imagine he'll try and grind them into submission. He gives you a good trading vehicle, I think, given the way that he jumps. Bit disappointing, really, that the festival chase or whatever it was called at Cheltenham, that we didn't see any strength in depth really in that race. And the horses that were behind him were Colin Tizard trained, who's had probably his worst season for a number of years. So no great surprise that the form hasn't really been boosted or enhanced. But the speed figure was terrific. One of the, well, probably the best, I think, over fences of the week, bar the Gold Cup. So it was a real quality performance. And I just thought it was a race where they had everything to lose, and it looked a little bit like that in Paul Townend's body language. I think there was a lot of nervousness and anxiety around Monkfish that day. I think Willie Mullins was feeling it a bit. It was their race to lose. He was 4 on, and they just, he did. I think if he'd have been in a competitive race, you might have seen a more comfortable ride or a more confident ride from Paul. But he still won 6.5 lengths, and he didn't look very impressive. He was a bit errant for him at 1 or 2 fences, and he's jumping. He's usually absolutely spot on, efficient, proficient, and with speed. So I think he'll gallop him into submission here. But I think that the play could be to lay the top 2 in the market. Perhaps place only with 2 places on offer, and then that brings Cole Reevy into it. And obviously we've got to see if Envoy Alain can bounce back from that Cheltenham performance. One thing I would say is perhaps just try and have a look at him in the pre-race in the paddock and what his demeanour is like, because by all accounts he was quite edgy at Cheltenham, and I don't think that was wasted on Nico de Boinville. He felt that he was pretty edgy, and he was edgy down at the start as well. So that might just be something to keep an eye on.
Very boring if I pretty much agree with everything Sam has said, and to a large extent Don as well. I was sort of, when I first went through the race, I was out to put up Cole Reevy. I thought, I'm going to be clever here. Not that Don, you are very clever, and I thought she's a play. But the more I look at Monkfish and his price as well, I strongly feel there's too little between Monkfish and Envoy Alain in the betting. There's been a couple of questions in about Envoy Alain's stamina. Mayor West X says that, and so too Adam Tinsley says any stamina doubts for Envoy Alain. To be honest, and somebody else can jump in. On pedigree, no. He's got Auvergnat in the pedigree, and I think he's a horse that looks bred for a Gold Cup, but he hasn't done it yet. So to that extent, there have to be some doubts because he's yet to do it. The main thing that I'm sort of jumping on Rixie's bandwagon, I think, when he talked about this going into Cheltenham, is what's he actually beaten this year. And I know he's done it so easily, but for a horse that fell last time, that really hasn't, you can pick holes in the form of his runs so far this year, and the fact that he's stepping up in trip. I just think there's not enough between the 2 in the betting, and that makes Monkfish a bet for me. So there you go. Hello, Helen. She says it's a watching race, which is the camp that you're in, Dees, right? No bet.
Yeah, if I had to have a bet, I'd bet Monkfish, because I don't think there's any negatives against Monkfish, whereas Envoy Alain has never gone the distance, and the stable change and the fall the last time. But I'm quite happy to just watch this race. I think it'll be a brilliant race regardless. And Colin Reevy has won it at Punchestown previously. She won the bumper a few years ago in a kind of a fast turnaround from Fairley House. So that could be the smart bet, all right.
Let's move on to Wednesday. So we're going to do a best bet of the meeting at the very end. The 3 mile Novices hurdle, which comes up at 5:20. This is a bit more open compared to what we looked at so far. Vanillier, the brilliant winner last time, runaway winner, 4.0. Galopin Deschamps beat Langadan last time. Just frustrating. 4.5. Tell Me Something Girl, who lines up here, interesting, not against the girls, is 7.5. Statler 8.0. Gentleman's Game 9.0. Then into the bigger prices. Deasy, I'll come to you first here.
I was very torn between Vanillier and Tell Me Something Girl, and I'm just gone for Vanillier because I watched back his race and he won by 11 lengths. He absolutely destroyed them. Thought he was brilliant. Going down through the rest of them, like Gentleman's Game, I thought was a bit interesting as well because his last run was over a completely inadequate trip. I think he ran over 2 miles, and he's definitely a 3 mile plus horse. He'll be a great chaser next year, but I don't think he will have the speed to win this. I think Vanillier could be a class above these, and I can't believe he's not clear favourite. I don't know why Galopin Deschamps is his favourite. He won a handicap fairly well, but I think Vanillier beat some good horses in the Bartlett, and I'm happy enough to stick with him.
That leads us to Sam Turner's selection.
Yeah, Galopin Deschamps. Well, it's interesting how the handicapper or the figures boys have actually rated that handicap performance, because they've actually put it sort of a pound or two in front of the Albert Bartlett win of Vanillier. I mean, I was going to say I've never seen a horse's legs go so fast over a line than I did in that Albert Bartlett. I mean, he really was going as quick over the line as he was sort of over the second hurdle. But then, of course, Florian Porter did exactly the same. So whatever Gavin Cromwell's feeding him, he's doing a good job. I mean, they were both unbelievable winners of their respective races. But Galopin Deschamps, I like him because I think he's related to a 2 mile 6 listed winner in France over fences. So I've got no real issue with the ground. He was obviously thought to be a grade 1 performer. He ran behind Appreciated in that very useful novice hurdle at Leopardstown and ran quite nicely. Wasn't knocked about. Obviously stepped up to 2.5, thrown in that handicap, and the way that he sleuthed through the field and bolted up, beating a well-handicapped horse in Langadan. And that's encouraged the handicapper to sort of give him a rating of 150, which is on a par with what Vanilliers did in the Albert Bartlett. So they rate the form pretty similar. That's a race that Willie's used before now with the likes of Kilolta Vic and Don Polly, good 3 mile chasers in the making. And I think he's got another one here. This guy looks like he's going to make into a lovely staying chaser, and I think he might go close here.
I couldn't find the most open race we looked at. I just couldn't get excited about one. The one, Donn, just give us a line on this. Tell Me Something Girl, I'm a huge fan of, and why are they going over 3 miles? Oh, I mean, they obviously know what they're doing. It's a huge change, though.
Yeah, well, it is. But 2 things. Firstly, like when she won at Bellewstown during the summer over 2.5, she looked to me like a stayer. She stayed on really well to win over 2.5. And actually, I was against her at Cheltenham because I thought 2 miles would be too sharp for her. Now, they went very, very fast. Magic Days, her stable companion, obviously set the pace, and Rachel Blackmore dropped her in and gave her another superb ride. So, I think they've always regarded her as a mare who would get further. And I think they have Manila Melody for the mare's hurdle. They were always going to keep them apart. Obviously, same connections, Henry de Bromhead, Kenny Alexander. So, and Manila Melody, she's an interesting mare. She's run twice. She was disappointing at Cheltenham, but she was disappointing at Cheltenham last year as well. So she's one maybe to keep in mind. But yeah, like I think Tell Me Something Girl is very interesting over 3 miles. I think, it could be her trip. She might even improve for stepping up. And yeah, I like, she's obviously progressive, and she was devastating at Cheltenham, as Galopin Deschamps was, and as Vanillier was. Like it's a really, I think this is a really, really good race. And Vanillier, like, he was chatting to Jonathan Murray during the week. He disappointed at Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival, but a lot of the Gavin Cromwell horses were just not in great form then. And his run at Limerick over Christmas was really good, and granted he would have hated it. He did a piece of work about 2 weeks before Cheltenham, and he went really, really well. So they were quite sweet on him going to Cheltenham, and he's a horse they've always held in high regard. So yeah, I think like he could build. I'm just not sure the Albert Bartlett hurdle was that strong a race, but he couldn't have done any more than he did. He was so impressive in winning it. And Gentleman's Game, yeah, I just was a bit disappointed with him at Fairyhouse. Like, he's a horse who's always been held in really high regard, and he's always shaped like a top class horse. And I still think he could well be a top class horse, but he's going to have to bounce back from his run at Fairyhouse. Maybe the step up to 3 miles would be the thing for him. So yeah, I haven't figured out a bet in the race yet, but I think it's fascinating. Vanilli, I think, is the right favourite though.
Yeah, same camp as me. I just bring him Adam Timsley's comment from a few moments ago. It was on Embo Allen, who says, will the objective to get a safe round of jumping to get the confidence back with Embo Allen? I was only fair to answer that, but I think the objective is to go and try and prove what a good horse he is. And I think they would just be thinking about winning. And I mean, there's just, Henry de Bromhead is going to want to win with this horse because otherwise the pressure will be mounting up. So no, I think it'll be go out and give it all to try and win and see if they've got a Gold Cup horse on their hands.
He'll know him better now, Tom, than before Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Like they only got him before Cheltenham, so they've had 6 weeks with him now, and yeah, I think that's positive.
Yeah, very much so. Right, let's kick on to the feature, 5:55. What a shame that there's no Manila Indo. But there we go. 2.62 for Album Photo. Clan des Obeaux is 4.33. Kemboy 5.0. 9.0 Fakir Dudri, 11.0 for Melon, Easy Game 21.0, and that's your lot now without Manila Indo in there. Dees, come to you first. We're in the same camp, but you can make the case first.
Yeah, I'm going for Kemboy. Horses for courses. He's won this race before after a disappointing run at Cheltenham previous to it. I think Album Photo, the Cheltenham Gold Cup would have been his target. He would have been laid out for it. And again, he disappointed in this. I think it was 2 years ago after winning the first Gold Cup. So I'm a bit of a negative against him. And Clan des Obeaux, when he ran a few days ago, I know he had an easy run around Aintree, but I think I prefer to go with the fresher horse. I think Kemboy, he's been here, done it before. He's a very good horse. Just don't think he doesn't like Cheltenham, but he acts well around Punchestown, and hopefully he can do it. He's a nice enough price as well. Is he 5.0?
Yeah. Donn, what do you want to add to that? You're in the same camp.
I am, yeah. Like a lot of what Micheál said, Tom. Like he's a Punchestown horse. He's not a Cheltenham horse. I think we have to conclude now he's not a Cheltenham horse. We've had enough evidence to suggest that he isn't. And I backed Album Photo against him the race that Ruby retired off. And at every stage in that race, I was happy with Album Photo. I thought Kemboy was doing too much in front. He'd been taken on for the lead. Album Photo was jumping really well in behind. It turned for home, and if I could have doubled my bet, I would have. But I just so impressive what Kemboy found in front. He just battled on so well to beat Album Photo, and it's a similar scenario. He comes into the race off a poor run in the Gold Cup this time, but as Micheál said, just back at Punchestown, back on better ground. I just think that, it's a track that suits him. He's a forward-going type of horse. He may not have it all his own way up front because Mellon tends to go forward as well. But I just think Punchestown suits him. The better ground will suit him. And look, Album Photo is a brilliant horse. He's a dual Gold Cup winner. Finished third in this year's Gold Cup. So it's right that he's favoured, and it's brilliant that Clan des Obeaux is coming over as well. Supplemented. But yeah, I think Kemboy is the value.
I'll go with that. I'd weirdly, now Manila Indo's out, I almost am. When he was I think he was 8.0 Kemboy, and I thought hello. But now Manila Indo's out. He's obviously shortened up a bit, but be a small stakes win bet for me for all the reasons you've said. Not that I can necessarily pick holes in the rest, other than I don't really fancy Album Photo. Having been beaten here a few years ago, and last time in the Gold Cup, he just didn't really. I think he'd had 2 races which sort of had worked out really perfectly for him, they were run very differently in 2 previous Gold Cups. But I think he was sort of not found out, but he was just beaten. 2 younger, fresher horses finished ahead of him, and we know he's very good, but he had a very hard race, and I just prefer the freshness about Kemboy. And I can't really work out Clan des Obeaux personally. Sam, you can probably help with that because you're not exactly negative on him for all you like Kemboy as well.
I'm not negative on Clan. I do take the negatives. That I think it was a harder race than a lot of people gave it credit for, Aintree, even though he won by 26 lengths. He was up in the van throughout, jumped really well. Cheap pieces really lit him up. If they have the same effect, I still think he'll run a massive race on Wednesday. I think he's a horse that's probably been saving a fair bit for himself. I think we saw that. The 2 performances from Newbury to Aintree, he beat... The race fell apart a little bit at Aintree, and he beat a handicapper in Clondor Castle, but a very good handicapper who was well suited by the conditions of the race, and he ran away from that as if he was the selling plater. So I think it was an exceptional performance, probably one of his best. Going right-handed on decent ground, be absolutely fine for him as well, obviously, having landed some King Georges. So I think I'll probably save on him, or I'll probably have a split stakes, him and Kenboy. I didn't fancy Album Photo, cue him hacking up by 20 lengths. The only defeat he suffered when rested for more than 10 weeks in 8 starts was that Gold Cup reverse last time. So he's a brilliant, brilliant horse, fresh, but he returns to the well very quickly here. He's only 2 from 8 under these circumstances. So at the prices, I'm happy to let him win. Kenboy 2 from 2 around Punchestown, 7 from 11 right-handed, very good in small fields. I think him and Clan will be my 2 plays in the race.
Yeah, Peter agrees on Clan as ever. The Clan, he'll be leading over the last, but will he hold on? That's the key, says Peter. Well, hoping so, or Paul Nicholls will certainly be hoping so, with those cheap pieces on. Anything to add to the Gold Cup? Let's kick on.
We should let the people know that Sam has been down drinking with Paul Nicholls for the past 3 days, so that's why he has to put up Candace Obo. Everybody's talking on the back there now.
That's very good. It may for those on the podcast, I dare listening to the podcast, I think Sam may have been drinking in the sun, looking at him as well. Just possible.
That was a cricket yesterday, and the fact that there's a shotgun pointed at my head at the moment.
There's that as well. Yeah. Right, let's move on to the bumper. How they bet at the moment with Sir Gerhard winner at Cheltenham 2.3. Well, 2.37, 2.38 Kilcrut. So there's not much in it. Then the bigger prices, 15.0 and bigger. So let's kick off with the top of the market, those that fancy a horse towards the top of the market. Deasy, I'll come to you first. You like the Cheveley Park horse?
I do, but I basically because he's been at Cheltenham, like I have absolutely no interest betting in bumpers, because I had to put one up on this. I said I go for Sir Gerhard, but
you never have to put one up. You don't have to put one up, please.
Yeah, no, I do think he'll win. I think he was very, very impressive at Cheltenham. I think that Kilcrut, obviously his win in the Dublin Racing Festival was too good to be true. Kind of looked that way at the time. But I think Sir Gerhard just has a bit of speed on him. I'd say Kilcrut will be good now over longer distances next year, but I'm gonna stick with Sir Gerhard here.
Okay, I know Sam doesn't have a strong view, and maybe and Donn doesn't either. Do you know? I think I'd quite happily back Kilcrut to reverse the form. I thought Rachel rode him silly, and Paul Tannen probably didn't get it quite right on Kilcrut. Looking back at the race, I can absolutely see why Sir Gerhard won. And Kilcrut was second best on the day, but I think he's got a good. I can't argue he should be favoured necessarily, but I will be supporting him small to reverse that form. I just don't think that Paul will allow it to pan out the same sort of way. He will know more about how Sir Gerhard's going to approach it. He should have known, but I think he'll have a good chance of reversing that form. We know what a good horse he is, and I don't think Sir Gerhard will get it to work out quite as perfectly. So that's my thoughts. Donn, do you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, look, it's it's fascinating. Again, I think the fact that Patrick Mullins has chosen to ride Sir Gerhard, that's significant. I think the market's going to follow if it hasn't really already. I agree with you, Tom. I think Rachel rode a hell of a race at Cheltenham, but he's always been very highly regarded. And I just thought at Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival that Kilcrut, look, he's a top class horse. He's got the name for it. I just thought that he was flattered. It was a good performance at Leopardstown, but I thought he was a bit flattered by how it panned out because they went very, very fast. Look, he was very good in winning, but I thought he looked better than maybe the substance of it was. And he still got to within a half a length of Sir Gerhard at Cheltenham in a race that probably wasn't ideally run for him. So he's a top class horse. The fact they're both now in the same camp, I don't think that detracts from the competition at all. Patrick Mullins is going to want to win this. He's going to want to get another winner on the board in pursuit of the amateurs title, and it's going to be a hell of a race between the two of them. I think like Pisocki, like he ran out last time at Leopardstown when he was travelling really, really well in front. That was his only run. The winner of that race, Dark Raven, went and was impressive in winning at Fairyhouse. So he's maybe a horse to keep a little eye on, at least, because he was putting up a good performance before he took the wrong course at Leopardstown. So he's interesting, but it's a big stretch, I think, to think that he's going to get close to Kilcrut or Sir Gerhard. But on the matchup between those two, I'd be in the Sir Gerhard camp.
A couple of shouts for Sir Gerhard. I'll stick with Kilcrut and Derek O'Connor. Sam, you happy to kick on to Thursday?
Absolutely. Crack on.
Good man. Right, Stayers Hurdle on Thursday afternoon. We've got no decks from here, so let me just try and get you some updated prices for this contest. As it stands at the moment, this is the 525. I'll let them load up in front of me. In fact, let me get your thoughts first of all, Sam, when I get some more accurate prices. Sam, take it away. Who do you fancy here?
Okay. Really intriguing race. Obviously, sees rivalries renewed, put my teeth in, between Florian Porter and Cider Burley. Now, this has never traditionally been Cider Burley's track. I think he's run 3 times at Punchestown, 3rd, unplaced at 8th. And his 2 best career performances have come at Cheltenham. So he's around sort of 5.5, 6.0. So if we're looking to take him on a little bit, I think perhaps look outside the box. Obviously, Florian Porter, horse that's still going the right way. I would probably have a small saver on him and have him to be even on the race, because I still think he's progressing. But I'll take a bit of a chance with the Storyteller. Just an old favourite of mine. Going to be around 9.0, 10.0, something like that. Goes very well right-handed, 10 from 26 right-handed, good ground, very good at Punchestown as well. Had half a dozen starts at Punchestown, won half of those starts and been placed on the other 3. I think he's a little bit unfortunate to finish 9 lengths beaten at Cheltenham. He was just sort of travelling away beautifully, as the Storyteller does in the hands of Keith Donoghue, and just missed one out. The 7th or the 8th just stopped him in his tracks a bit, and Florian Porter was just pouring it on up front. And he could just never make that ground back, but wasn't knocked about. Obviously, he was entered in the Grand National, didn't take up that engagement. I just think that this is his track, really, and these are his conditions, and I think he can run all right here. I think a sort of 9.0, 10.0, something like that each way will probably do for me. That's if he gets declared, of course. Yeah,
we've got that in our minds, haven't we? 3.0 for Florian Porter, Cider Burley 5.5, Beacon Edge 8.0, Run on Pump 9.0, the Storyteller 9.0. So it's a very fair price. Dees, what about you? Looking higher up the betting or further down?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to know who's going to turn up here. The one that kind of caught me, I suppose, first short enough prices is Fury Road. The gamble on him at Cheltenham was incredible. He was 21.0, I think, 3 or 4 days before the festival, and he went off 5.0. He went off joint favourite, I think. No, he ran an absolute stinker. He didn't run at all very well. But I was wondering at the time, was it just like Cheltenham preview night money that someone tipped him up somewhere and people just got on board? But it kept going even on the day. And I think that on maybe a right-handed track on better ground, I don't think that he loves heavy ground, very soft ground. I think that the better ground here will suit him, and hopefully he'll run a bit better than he did it, but and even finishing the race be a better run than he did at Cheltenham. But I think that I'd expect him to go better this time. He's an alright price, and I think if Mrs. Milner lines up here as well, I'd be interested in her at a big price. Fairly good in the Pertemps, and again, like she could still be improving, and she's going to be a double figure price. She is at the moment, but again, we don't know if she's going to run. But I'd probably back the 2 of them, small win and a place.
Stevens 99 agrees with you. Mrs. Milner improved at Cheltenham enough to sneak a place in this question mark. If she lines up, I would be backing her in the place market. She's got a shed load to find on official figures, but you know that she's just got that lovely profile of a Pertemps winner who just improves and goes up in grade. It's been won by a good few Irish staying hurdlers who've gone on to be subsequent Grade 1 winners, and whether she's going to be that, I'm not sure, but I think she could place in this potentially. The other horse, which is a filthy shout, is Classical Dream. If he lines up, it's horrible, I know, but this horse does have class, and it wouldn't surprise me were Willie to pull something off here. And I don't want to use the words pull off and Willie in the same sentence, apologies, but it wouldn't surprise me were Willie to just you know what I'm saying. I think he's got class, and if he lines up, I would be very tempted to have a little go win and place on Classical Dream. Good
carry on, Stanley.
And do you know exactly? And do you know the other thing? Ruby Walsh put this horse up in the Racing TV horses to follow. You had to select a horse to follow, and he put this horse up. I mean, and yet we haven't seen him. So either Ruby's having a laugh with all of us, or I'd love to see him run. And if he lines up, I'd have a go. There you go. Have you got a bet in this, Dom?
It does depend what runs, Tom. I think Flooring Port is the right favourite. I think I still think he's a horse who still hasn't got the recognition that he deserves. He's always confounded everybody the whole way through the season. Like when he won the hurdle race at Navan, then went on won his Grade 1, provided Jonathan Moore with his first Grade 1, then went and won the Cheltenham race, and obviously that was a high-profile win for Danny Mullins, his first Cheltenham Festival winner, and Jonathan Moore having stepped aside because he didn't feel he could do the horse justice. But he's a front runner, and Punchestown should suit him better than Cheltenham did. So I think he could even be a better horse at Punchestown. He could have more in hand, and I agree with Sam and Cyr de Burley. He's a horse that he finds lots for pressure, and he's just that type of horse who's well suited to Cheltenham and not so well suited to Punchestown. But I think of the bigger horses, fully agree with Micheál and Fury Road. I backed Fury Road for the Stairs Hurdle anti-post, and when I saw the bet for him, or the money coming from closer to the time, I think this is happening because the week before the race he wasn't due to run. I think Gordon Elliott said or a couple of weeks beforehand that he might not run, and I think Eddie O'Leary, his owner, said, or of Jiggleston House, said that he was going to run. So he was desperately disappointing. But if you put a line through that run, and you have to, I know he was hampered early on, but he was never going. It was never happening for him. So you just have to put a line through that and hope that he can bounce back. And he has won and run well at Punchestown before. So I think he'll be interesting if he lines up. I think French Dynamite will be interesting if he lines up. 3 miles might just be towards the outer reaches of his stamina, but I think at Punchestown on goodish ground, that could help him. And Soul Pretender is an interesting horse, I think. He might just not be this class, and the step up and trip, you don't know how he's going to fare over 3 miles. He won over 2 miles last, was his first run in a year and a half last time when he beat Bapome, and he beat him well. It was a really good training performance by Norman Lee to get him back, and Bapome then went and won it over fences at Tremor next time. But I just think so. He's an interesting horse wherever he goes next. It might be biting off a wee bit much to go into a champion Stairs Hurdle, but I just think he's a horse worth noting wherever he goes.
Interesting stuff for him. Who is 17.0 currently, Soul Pretender. Ryanair Novices Chase we move on to. Obviously, we've got a warm order in here in the form of Energamine, who's 1.4, Captain Guinness 4.5, Embittered 9.0, who has been declared for the handicap chase on the Wednesday, Janadil 9.0, bigger prices the rest. Personally, I'm going to be a chicken and sit this one out. Nothing for me here. Deasy, you've got a bet?
No, not really. Energamine is going to win this, and I'd say Janadil might come second.
Okay, would you back him at 1 point? You wouldn't back him at 1.4. I know you're a big price man. Would you back Janadil in the to place depending on how many rock up?
Well, sure. There's only seven. Well, and Vialan is in there. He's not going to run it. So you're only going to be getting 2 places. I'd probably back Janadil all right in the without market if he turns up, but I'll wait and see on that. I thought that he finally got it right the last time. I think he's a very good horse.
Sam, do you want anything on this with the Energamine? Any financial investment? Always, you need to press a button so we can hear you, Sam.
Schoolboy error. Sorry.
That's definitely. We need to inform all the Nickel fan on the golf course. That is you've got to pay a punishment when you go out after this. Go on, carry on.
Pay a fine. I'm after Deasy's title. I think I'd probably look at perhaps laying Captain Guinness place or something like that. If he was declared, I think he's a bit of a headbanger and you could get anything from him. So I'd probably go that way really, rather than backing an Energamine at 2 to 5. But I still don't think that's a bad bet, to be honest. Okay,
which brings us to Donn, the headbanger, Captain Guinness.
Yeah, I think he's got a hell of a chance. It's great. It's great, isn't it? It's a great game. Opinions and opinions. They're all viable opinions at the moment. I think Punchestown suits him. Is running the arc he just did way too much too early. He and All Mankind got into a tussle for the lead. I think both thought that they'd get to the front and the other would sit in behind, but neither did. So he just did way too much. He was a tired horse by the time they got to the top of the hill, and he did well enough to keep on as well as he did to finish third. But I think back at Punchestown, he's a super jumper of fences. I think the better ground will suit him. And yeah, if he can get out in front, maybe like an Ergomain, look, he's a super talented horse. Just worry a bit on the ground for him. He just has to prove that he can be as good on better ground as he has been on soft ground. Look, he's got a victory over Captain Guinness on his CV, beat him at Naas by 8 or 9 lengths, but that was on heavy ground. And I just think on better ground at Punchestown, Captain Guinness won his beginner's chase at Punchestown. If he can get into his rhythm and Rachel Blackmore can allow him do it at Punchestown, it's a relatively easy track. So yeah, I think he's an interesting alternative to an Ergomain.
Well, I like it. So divided opinions in the 2 mile novice chase. We'll see what happens on the Thursday. We move on to Friday. Last 2 grade ones we're going to be previewing. We start off with an absolute belter. It's the Punchestown Champion Hurdle. And at the top of the betting is Honeysuckle at 1.57, Epatante 6.5, Sharjah 10.0, Abracadabra 11.0, as is Aspire Tower and Goshen, Jason the Militant 13.0. And then we get stuck into the bigger prices. Sam, come to you first. Is she beatable? Honeysuckle.
Well, every horse is beatable, but on all the evidence that we've seen so far, providing this isn't the last run in the end of a long season and a bit of an afterthought, which I doubt it would be, given it's a brilliant race in its own right, and Henry de Bromhead will have targeted it. Then I think she's very much deserving of being clear favourite. Whether she deserves to be odds on in this race, especially with sort of Epatante perhaps taking her on and 1 or 2 others that should be well suited by conditions, then that's open to question. But she's got most of these beaten in the form book, and it's very difficult to envisage any of them really reversing the placings from what they've managed to achieve this year. The one horse I think that looks to have improved lately for a switch of trainer is Abracadabra. I think he's quite an interesting contender, back over 2 miles on good ground. Denise Foster's obviously found the key to him, and he's a type of horse that I think could put up a bit of a sort of a marquee performance in this race now that he's got a bit of confidence behind him from Aintree. He's obviously had a light campaign. He fell in the Champion Hurdle, so we don't know what he could have achieved in that race. So I'd be probably looking at him each way to sort of go past the likes of Epatante in the market, and perhaps even the Sharjah second in the race at Cheltenham. Aspire Tower should go good gallop, could be taken on by Goshen, so they should go good gallop for Abracadabra. So I probably would play him each way really. I'm not too keen on betting something like Honeysuckle at 4 to 6.
Yes, I'm certainly not too keen on betting Honeysuckle at that sort of price. In fact, my play is going to be just to lay her small personally, because I half wanted about Epatante. I thought there was a bit too much between them in the betting, for all that she was well beaten last time. I'm still not sure the horses from that yard were perhaps 100%. They might not be now, but and I see the case for Abracadabras as well. Absolutely. And even Jason the Militant, who was absolutely, he lines actually hammered last time, hammered in the betting. So with all that in mind, if it's good ground on is it the inner course they're on? I think I was fortunately enough, speaking to Nicky Henderson this morning, and he was pointing out that if they're going to try and do, or maybe they do it for toe, but Honeysuckle, that is. I just thought she was so good at Cheltenham on softer ground at a track like Cheltenham, which played to her stamina strengths. But I still go back to that run at Leopardstown on perhaps the best ground she's run on over 2 miles, where she only beat Darva Star half a length. I know she's a lot better than that now, but and I think she'll win. But I'll be a small lay on Honeysuckle for me, and I'll probably do my dough. Dees?
Yeah, I think she'll win. So I actually mentioned this in the comments there a while ago, but the weather is supposed to turn a small bit now over the next few days. Like, there is a small bit of rain forecast, so it's not going to be rattling fast ground. It'll definitely be yielding, maybe on the soft side of yielding at that stage. But it's not going to be a bog either. So I think the ground will be fine for her. I just think that she's head and shoulders above these. But looking back through the looking back over the years, like not a lot of the champion hurdlers come in here and win this race. You know, a lot of them might have left it behind them at Cheltenham. So again, she's not a backable price. She, like, if you want to stick on a few multiples, I reckon she could go off bigger, because I think she's way too short now at the moment. She's the kind of horse now that might drift to something like 1.8 on the day, because no one is backing her at all, and everyone is going for the each way bets. But I can see her winning, and I think Aspire Tower would enjoy being back on probably a better surface. Again, he's about 11.0, 12.0, so I'll definitely back him to place. I wouldn't bother with the win bet. I just think that he's won over course and distance before. He's an ex-flat horse, so he does prefer good ground, and I could see him sneaking into second or third here.
Paul Hayward has got in touch saying, best 2 mile hurdler since Hurricane Fly. Honeysuckle wins easy, getting better every run. I mean, Donn, you can comment on that and give us a selection if you want.
I couldn't disagree with Paul. Like, she just keeps on winning. She's won 11 times now, plus a point to point. I thought she was a 2.5 miler. Thought her Hatton's Grace hurdles runs were her best. Then she won the Irish Champion Hurdle, put up a career best. Then went and won the Champion Hurdle, put up a career best over 2 miles. She's got pace. She has stamina for 2.5 miles, but she has 2 mile pace as well. And yeah, her hurdling is getting better. Looks to me like she's getting better, more fluent over her hurdles. And she's never run at Punchestown, so maybe you can point to that. But no, I think, yeah, it's really, I think she's really rock solid. I think if she goes to even money, she might even be a bet. Like, there are lots of interesting horses in it. Obviously, Abacadabras, he fell at Cheltenham. He'll probably have the race run to suit. Goshen's good that he's coming over going right-handed, so at least that should be in his favour. And he and Aspire Tower and Jason the Militant, so there should be a really good pace on. And Honeysuckle herself, there should be a fast pace, and that'll suit Abacadabras. Jason the Militant, be interested in him maybe if it rained a wee bit before Friday and the ground got a wee bit testing, because he's a talented horse. I think Willie Mullins and the team have said a couple of times since that they were disappointed with James de Burley in the Champion Hurdle, so maybe a better run can be expected from him. Tom Classical Dream is in here as well, so you wouldn't know. He could show up there. But
yeah, wouldn't back him over too, Don. Wouldn't back him over too. Come on.
No, he's over hurdles. Yeah, look, I think Honeysuckle is just she's a mare of a lifetime, really. I think I don't think she'll get beaten here, really.
No, yeah, I can. I'll probably do my money. Right, we've got a few minutes left. So last race we're previewing for you, and it's got a warm order at the top of it for the Champion Novice Hurdle with Bob Ollinger, who is 1.67, Appreciate It 5.0, Gaia de Menil 6.0, Ashdale Bob 11.0. Going to have to limit this to selections only. I do not have a selection in this race as things stand currently at the prices. Sam Turner, would you put up Gaillard as a win and place for an each way bit of thievery, or no?
Yeah, if you could get the 5-1 now, because I think the race will cut up quite badly. Galopin de Champ, Decimation, Echoes in Rain, Ganapathy, they've all got other engagements that week and are unlikely to ship up here. So you're probably going to get, if you can play now and get 6.0 win and place with 3 places, then you're on a bet to nothing. But do I think it can beat Bob Ollinger? Probably not. I thought that was an astonishing performance at Cheltenham. So probably an odds-on poke that might go in again.
It's frightening, wasn't it? D's 1.67. I know you said you like Bob Ollinger. Would you back him at that price?
I probably would, Jack, because I don't see what would beat him over these. Like he'd probably go off 1.3 or something if once the race cuts up. I think he'll absolutely smash them.
Can Willie beat Bob Ollinger here, Don, do you think? Yes or no?
No. Watch Bob Ollinger. No bet for me. Watch him and then look forward to him going over fences next season.
Yeah, he's absolutely frightening, wasn't he? Right, there you go. Best bets. No, handicap bets. Are we doing handicap bets first? We should be doing handicap bets first, shouldn't we? I'll stick up. I've only got one. It's Declan Rix's dark horse to follow, Embittered. Everybody knows all about him. And I think Embittered, who runs on the Wednesday over 2.5 miles in a handicap. He fell last time. He's got to win a handicap. I'm sure been campaigning for a handicap pretty much all year. And I think the extra triple suit. Embittered for me is my one handicap bet. Don, handicap.
One handicap bet so far, Champagne Gold in the 2 mile handicap on Tuesday. He disappointed at Cheltenham. He was sent off a short price for that. He's obviously better than that. His run behind Drop the Anchor in the Ladbrokes hurdle was a really good run. That was just his 4th run over hurdles, and to be able to cope with the rough and tumble of a Ladbroke hurdle, that was a big run. And I just think he's a bit of a forgotten horse now going into Punchestown. He's down to a mark of 139. He raced off a British mark of 144. That's just £7 higher than his Ladbrokes mark. So yeah, I think 2 miles is trip. I think he could be a bit better than a mark of 139.
Deasy, you got a couple?
Yeah, I have 2 in the same race as Donn. I have Wonderlash trailed by not Charles Burns, RP Burns, whoever it is. This horse, at one stage they were talking about him going the champion hurdle, being a dark horse. He had a bad injury, kept him out for a while, but they've kind of brought him back slowly. He's had a good few runs on the flat now, just to keep him ticking over. And I think that he could definitely be well ahead of his mark of. Let me get him up here now. He's there at 142. If he's going to win a big handicap, it's probably going to be at a big festival like this. So I'd fancy him. And the other one is the Mouse Doctor, Tony Martin's horse. He's way down the bottom there. He's rated 124. He'll be carrying 10-3. I think the secret to this horse is that he wants good ground. He's going to get good ground. And again, Tony Martin is legendary for sneaking in little horses at the bottom of the handicap and pulling one off. So I'm going to back the 2 of them, small win and place. And I've one more than I think Black Up in the handicap chase on Wednesday. I think he could be. I think he could be a good bet in that as well. He's a goal. He ran in the Gold Cup, finished 7th. He wasn't completely disgraced despite being, I think it was 150 to 1 or something. He was a massive price. He's in here against handicappers. I think he's probably a bit better than a handicapper, and he's only going to be carrying 11 stone. I think that gives him a good chance. So he's run that's Black Up in the 7 o'clock on Wednesday.
Sam Turner, handicap bet. There we go. Forward defensive. Very
Forward
well
defensive.
No problem.
No handicaps looked at yet.
In which case, Sam, you can give us your best bet. Kick off with the best bets for Punchestown. What is your best bet, Sam?
Very unoriginal, I'm afraid, but it's Echoes in Rain. I think she's a potential superstar, and that's in the Champion Novices hurdle on the first day.
It's not unoriginal at all. Was very nearly mine. Yeah. Well, my best bet's Monkfish. So there you go. But I just, I'm really happy that he's the price he is up against Envoy, and Monkfish for me. Donn McClean, your best bet.
Carl Reavy against Monkfish. Yeah, I think she's underrated by the market. I just think at the prices she should be a lot closer to the top 2 than she is, and I think she will be. I think she'll be a one for money tomorrow. For all the reasons we outlined earlier, plus the fact that she's in full. She's in full, I think, to walk in the park, and we know how mares can improve in the going full. This is going to be her last run. Even on rating, she's got very little to find with Monkfish and Envoy. And they're the high-profile horses, so you can understand why they're dominating the preamble and dominating the market. But I think she's been underrated. I think she'll outrun her odds. DC, your best bet?
I'm going to go for Vanillier in the 3 mile novice hurdle.
There we go. 5 belting days. Sorry we didn't get in the grade ones on Saturday. We were sticking to 4 days, 10 races to try and get in and around the hour, which we've done. Donn, thank you very much.
Cheers, Sam. Cheers, lads.
DC, top man. Much appreciated.
That's fine.
Sam Turner, play well, sir. Lovely to see you.
Thank you, Thomas. All the best.
All the best to everyone for watching. Thanks very much. Hope we find you some winners again, like we did at the weekend. It's a good weekend, and hoping for a good Punchestown festival. See you Friday, 6 p.m. for our Guineas preview. Bye-bye.